What's up, everyone? It's Thomas with Living in St. Augustine team.
And Justin with Living in Jacksonville.
And today we're going to do our bi-weekly podcast where we're going to go over the overrated, underrated things here in Jacksonville, St. Augustine, northeastern Florida as a whole. And we're also going to talk about some news stories and just kind of speak candidly about what we think, how it affects the area, and just things that we think that everyone needs to know about. So, Justin, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. It's Friday,
Yeah.
Friday, hopefully that doesn't necessarily mean we're off for the weekend. You know,
No.
people hear Friday is synonymous with I don't have to work for the rest of the week, but I don't think that will be the case for neither you or I. We're staying busy, you know.
Yeah, which is I've literally been on the phone all day, and it's I want to throw my phone. So
What are you working on right now, then?
we got 3-4 things under contract, one thing coming new to the market, and we have an offer out for over $1 million. So we're still moving, man. Still moving despite 8% interest rates, you know? So
Yeah. I mean, it's chugging along. I kind of don't want to say what I'm doing now because that kind of puts me to shame.
No, man, it's all good. We're still moving forward, you know. Things obviously the market has tightened, right?
Yeah.
You know, market's tightened up a little bit. I'm really interested to see what happens over winter in terms of like pricing and inventory,
as well.
rates.
Yeah.
So yeah,
We'll definitely we'll circle back to that
We
after
should.
our fun part here. Let's do the overrated, underrated part.
yeah.
I think you guys liked that last time where we kind of do a list for each other and pretty much candidly talk about if something is either overrated or underrated. So
Or properly rated,
or
right?
properly rated. Yeah.
And also, guys, if you do have any suggestions for what we should cover for overrated, underrated, go ahead and fire them off in the comments below. Let us know because we'll cover it as soon as we get to the next one. So I'm starting this one off, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So
No. Let me go first.
Okay, go ahead. Let's
think
rock out. I'm
ready.
ready. I'm ready. So
I like a little bit more time to kind of like see what you're gonna respond with, just in case
Yeah.
you throw me any curveballs later.
well, you better bring the heat after,
Yeah.
man.
All right, here we go. And let's go.
Let's go.
Overrated, underrated. St. Johns County school system.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to take a hot take here. St. John's County school system is overrated. Now, let me tell you why. And we've talked about this in length, but and we've said this on this podcast, I think, as well, is the teachers aren't getting paid enough, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how are we one of the top school districts in the state of Florida, and every surrounding county pays their teachers more? And every surrounding county is way less expensive than our county here. Drives me absolutely insane. I dislike that a lot. And also, one thing that a lot of people aren't talking about, probably a lot of the realtors out there aren't talking about, is teachers are leaving, right? So good teachers that made St. John's County one of the top school districts to be in are like, hey, I can't cut it anymore. I got to get out. So they leave. They go to a higher paying job in a surrounding county, and they leave a vacancy over. So I hear substitute teachers are hard to come by these days in St. John's County, and also because of how much it's grown, overcrowding too. So in certain schools, they're having problems with the student-teacher ratio, which historically in St. John's County was always like 1-20, right?
Yeah.
Which was fantastic.
Which Duval County would love that number.
Yeah.
For decades already, but that hasn't been the case there. So, like you said, it's just kind of regrettable, you know? I mean, not paying the teachers well enough, you're going to see people leaving the area. You're going to see good, qualified teachers leaving the area. And it doesn't fully make sense to neither you nor I why, you know, because they're doing such a good job. You know, St. John's County as an aggregate scores among one of the highest ranking counties school-wise and testing-wise across Florida. So, you know, to perform so well, so consistently, yet have issues with retaining your talent being the teachers, is kind of it's a problem that needs to be solved for sure.
I think it's a simple thing to solve too. And I mean, last year they talked about this, and really, I've said this before, St. John's County has a marketing problem when they talk about raising taxes, right? They talk about raising taxes and they're like, hey, do you want to raise property taxes or do you want to raise sales taxes? But they didn't actually dive into that and what that means, right? So they led with like raising property taxes. But it's like, guys, we have 8 million visitors to our county every single year.
Tourism's huge.
Why not raise the sales tax and then put that money straight towards the teachers, right? Or I'm sure that money would cover that and then some, you know?
Yeah.
So like, to me, I'm not like the most intelligent person in the world, right? I know a thing or two, but that seems like a simple fix. And it's something that I don't see anyone being like, nah, them teachers, we're not paying them teachers. You know, like who's not gonna back that? So it drives me absolutely nuts.
And you bring up the sales tax point, and I think that's so much more of a digestible solution for many people, because a sales tax, you don't see that bill at when the property appraiser sends you that report and says this is what your property taxes are going to be this year. That's a visceral, like, oh my gosh, it's thousands of dollars kind of thing. It's like, oh my gosh, my property taxes are so much. A sales tax is like, you buy a soda at the corner store. It's like you don't really feel it. You don't really pay attention to a sales tax. At least I haven't really.
And that's the one thing is like, all right, so our county is a huge tourist attraction, right? Jacksonville does have a good bit of tourism, but pretty much like every other county surrounding where they pay their teachers more, they don't have that kind of money coming in, right? So how are they able to pay their teachers and we're not? So not saying like the education you're getting there is overrated, but the problems that we're having is crazy to me, and it's overrated.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. Oh man.
Yeah, we came in with the heat. Yeah, came in with the heat.
Coming with the heat, baby. All right. Overrated, underrated. St. Augustine Beach. Be interesting to see what you say for this.
So I grew up on St. Augustine Beach. Much different place than it was today. Just to give you an idea, our rent was $800 for a 2-bedroom apartment a block away from the beach. So way different than it is today. That number is probably $3,500 now.
Yeah.
But St. Augustine Beach, to me, 100% overrated. It's the tourist attraction, right? A lot of people go there. You can never find parking. It's nice in the mornings if you want to go for sunrise, but aside from that, you're never going to get on there if you're just unless you live right on the beach, and then you can walk straight over. It's also crowded. We can go to Crescent Beach, right? And Crescent Beach is a much bigger beach. There's no one there really comparatively. So you can spread out and have a lot more space. Yeah. There's just a lot better beaches than St. Augustine Beach, right? It's like, obviously St. Augustine Beach is that like staple of St. Augustine, but we have way nicer beaches throughout the rest of St. Johns County that you could frequent and also not be belly to belly with people, like rubbing elbows with a whole bunch of tourists.
I hear you there. But honestly, I feel like, growing up as a kid going to the beach, I felt like if the beach was crowded and there was a lot of people there, that was something about seeing a bunch of people there at the same time enjoying the beach with you as well made it feel like it was more fun. That might just be maybe a belief I had as a child. Maybe not so much anymore, but
now you're like, get away from me, people.
As long as I have a place to park my car, and I don't have to walk 2 miles to get to the spot that I want, I'll be okay with it.
Exactly, but I can see what you're saying. Like if you have kids and you want kids to interact and like have fun on the beach, then St. Augustine Beach might be the better spot. But like for me, where I'm at in my life, like I don't want to be next to you. I want my peace and quiet on the beach,
I hear you.
I don't want to hear someone's radio right next to me. I want to hear the ocean. I want to hear my radio. I don't want to hear someone else's.
Alrighty, moving right along.
Next one.
Overrated, underrated, out-of-state buyers that are buying in St. Augustine.
Oh, I know we prepped for this one. So it's overrated for the people that live here, right? So the people that live here are getting priced out like crazy because of so many people coming in with cash. For the people that are moving here, that are moving from New York, New Jersey, California, Washington, D.C., Chicago, for them, it's like, they're selling their properties and they're able to buy a house here with cash and then just worry about their property taxes and insurance. It's underrated for them, right? If you're coming from California and of course there's things happening in California that are way different than Florida. We all know that, right? Whatever reason you're coming over here, our property value is less, for the most part, especially in St. Johns County. You're looking for an oceanfront home, you can spend, $1 to $2 million, whereas in California, you might get like a 3-bedroom ranch 20 minutes from the beach, So affordability for the people that are moving here, it's underrated, right? For the people that live here, it's definitely overrated in terms of the out-of-state buyers. And even myself, I was an FHA buyer buying a house here. We went through 4 offers. We lost all 4 to cash, So like that sucks. That's not fun, And I've lived here a good bit of time. But does that mean because I've lived here, I should automatically get first dibs on houses? How does that work? So maybe it's properly rated, right? Because
there's a balance on both sides.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
That was a realtor answer. Out-of-state buyers, hit me up.
All right, here we go. Overrated, underrated. A1A. This, just for anybody who doesn't know what A1A is, it's a scenic highway route that pretty much like goes up and down the coast of East Coast Florida.
Yeah.
For us, it takes, you can go down A1A to go from Jacksonville all the way down to St. Augustine through Villano Beach, of course. It's more of like a scenic route, as they would say. Definitely faster ways to get to and from places, but that's more of the scenic route, A1A. So overrated, underrated, A1A.
I'm going to go with A1A is overrated. And I know that's not popular to say, but it's not even a scenic route anymore. There's so many houses that block the view of the beach. All right, so it's overrated here in St. Augustine and in Jacksonville, right? In Jacksonville, it's a city, right? So you're Jacksonville Beach, Neptune Beach, Atlantic Beach. You don't see the beach at all. So it doesn't matter. It's not scenic whatsoever. I mean, Jacksonville Beach is kind of nice,
it's
but
okay.
You can't see the beach.
You can't really see the beach.
There's
You're
no
right.
nature to see it, right?
Yes.
But then when you go through
Down to
Ponte
Palm
Vedra,
Coast.
and you go through Ponte Vedra, through Villano Beach, there is some stretches that are beautiful, and there's no cell reception or anything, so that's actually kind of nice. But then you come up on all these $1 million houses on the beach. You can't see the beach. There's houses on your right and your left, condos, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, it's not scenic at all. But when you get south of St. Johns County, really, and then you go into like Flagler Beach, you can see the ocean. There's a drop off right there.
Yeah,
and that's
much nicer there.
Much nicer, but also much smaller, right? So
Of course.
I'm definitely going to go with overrated for our area.
That's a fair assessment. I think so.
Yeah.
I'd probably say the same thing as far as A1A, where it goes from Jacksonville to St. Augustine. A lot of it does get blocked by those multi-million-dollar houses that are beachfront. So,
Yeah.
okay, you ready to make some enemies?
Okay.
Overrated, underrated real estate agents.
Oh, man. All right. So we've talked about this outside of this, but most real estate agents suck. Like, they're overrated. A lot of them are overrated, and it's the barrier to entry in real estate is so low. The bar is so low. You got to take a 63-hour course, and the 63-hour course doesn't even help you do the business in reality,
not
right?
Not at all.
But in general, like, we are in a customer service business, right? And how many agents don't pick up the phone?
Yeah.
When you just need to talk to them about something, they'll text you back, or they won't even call you back. You know, and it's so frustrating when on the reverse side of that, it's amazing when you have a good agent on the other side of the deal, and like you're working it together, and
you know right away when you get one of them.
Almost immediately. Yeah. And then there's agents who just don't rely on like a transaction coordinator, so they're green. They don't rely on a transaction coordinator, and then you're doing all the work for both sides. It's very frustrating. But then also, I mean, there's the biggest thing most agents don't even know is like how our taxes are set up here and how they're paid in arrears. So like you hear horror stories of people getting a fat tax bill their next year, and they're like, why did this happen? And it's like, well, your property got reassessed because that's what happens here, you know? And the agent never preps them on that. So, I mean, that's just like one thing.
Or homestead, for example. They don't even
know about that.
Let you know that you better, usually the title company will kind of do it for the most part, but something, as a buyer, first-time home buyer, you don't know a lot of things about the aspects of purchasing your first home. So having an agent that can kind of communicate those things to you, not only just once, but multiple times, or at least remind you that, hey, homestead's coming up, man. It's, make sure you're homesteaded, so you pay a lot less.
You're not going to get the increases, Also, it's like the market, like we talked about a little bit, has changed, right? And I think it's nationally, agents have seen a 40% decline in their business, right? And then if I remember correctly, I think in the middle of last year, it was a ridiculous statistic, like 70% of agents hadn't closed more than 4 homes in the middle of last year, right?
And you also had an influx of agents during, that spike of the real estate market since the pandemic. So many people flooded in to get their licenses to become real estate agents, which at numbers and at rates we have never seen before historically. So
it became like a gimmicky kind of thing. Like that's where you see like the rise of these TikTok stars doing dances on TikTok so they get business, and it's just like that drove me absolutely nuts. It's like this
I got my opinion on that too.
Are you a TikTok dancer?
No. I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that front.
So frustrating. But you want to just reverse it from here and you start off with that one?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we are of the same cloth. I agree with you 100% that real estate agents are definitely overrated, and not only overrated, but the perception of real estate agents are overrated because, for example, if you go on Facebook and you see people commenting on a post about real estate, you'll see a lot of negativity that regular people, not realtors, have towards real estate agents because they've had bad experiences in the past, or their perception of what real estate agents do is overinflated and things like that. And that's mostly due to the fact that there are so many real estate agents out there who just don't do a well enough job carrying this profession and helping the perception of what we do as a positive thing.
100%. Yeah, and it's that old 80-20 rule, right?
Yeah.
Where 20% of the agents do 80% of the business,
Yeah.
and that other 80% does the other 20, right? And I think that's in real estate. I actually think it's a 90-10 rule, because most real estate agents they're part-time. They're not treating this as a business.
Absolutely, and that's kind of why I feel like real estate agents as an aggregate is overrated, especially right now, since that huge influx of people flooding into the market as real estate agents getting their licenses. Most of them didn't even do 4 transactions in a year.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And not only that, at that point in time, the brokerages that were pretty much employing these real estate agents, they probably didn't have the infrastructure to make sure that all of these agents who are onboarding, these new agents, are getting the proper education and the proper treatment when it comes to training it takes to put them out into the world and do transactions on a proper level.
Yeah, and I think it should almost be switched up like appraisers. You need to have a certain amount of hours under another appraiser, in order to be able to do things on your own. That's how it should be for real estate agents. I will flip this around and say that a good real estate agent is underrated, 100%.
Oh yeah, and that's mostly due in part because the perception of real estate agents has become so negative that when there is actually a good agent, they get outshined by all that negativity that comes with a bad perception that real estate agents have had to take on because of all the bad ones.
Yep.
It's kind of like the whole one bad apple spoils the bunch kind of thing. You know, so
for sure.
Yeah, definitely overrated, but there's some good ones out there, and when you get a good one, they're great, and it's lovely.
We'll cover this next time. I'm gonna write it down. Appraisers next time. We'll cover overrated, underrated.
And back to your point, as far as how should we? What's the bar to entry for real estate agents? What it ought to be. And I don't know a proper solution. Obviously, maybe a 63-hour course isn't quite sufficient to kind of filter people out. But there ought to be something else, some other system, whether or not it is some type of mentorship program or what have you. I don't necessarily like the idea of gatekeeping a profession, but there needs to be some sort of standard as far as who should be able to work in this industry.
Well, and that's something that we saw with appraisers specifically, right? They have that mentorship thing going on, and then during the pandemic when we had 6.5 million transactions in 2021, it sometimes take you 3-4 weeks to get an appraiser out there, and that's because they were gatekeeping because they hey, I can make all this money right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to split any of my money with a mentee, So they were gatekeeping that. So maybe that's not the right way to go about it, but
there is a solution somewhere.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's something or something else, I don't know.
We're not the people to figure it out. Yeah.
I'm not too bright in that regard.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're gonna go up to your area now. Overrated, underrated, downtown Jacksonville.
Oh man, you know what? I could answer it 2 different ways, but for the most part, I'd say downtown Jacksonville is underrated, but for a good reason. It's underrated because it's been overrated for so long that now it's underrated because there's actually developments happening in downtown Jax, I discussed last time, talking about the whole Four Seasons hotel development. You have luxury condos going in the area downtown Jacksonville. You can see residential parts from Brooklyn spreading out towards downtown that are building there. New hospital facilities. You've already seen the kind of gentrification of the Springfield area, and that's just north of downtown. So it's underrated in the sense that there's all this potential that's going on. Right now, they've already given the green light for phase 1 of that Four Seasons hotel. They're redoing the stadium. There's talks of revamping what was Metropolitan Park that goes all the way down to expand that park system along the riverbank. There's just so much activity that's happening now in Jacksonville's downtown. But prior to that, downtown has been kind of like a desert where no one really goes. There's been nothing there, and they've always kind of overinflated. Oh, downtown, they built a skyway system that goes to a couple stations, that no one
rides
uses.
it. Yeah, who rides it?
I wrote it one time as a kid in 3rd grade. No, maybe I think it was 2nd grade. I rode the Skyway system because I won a contest. I won third place in a contest for drawing. You had to draw a picture of the Skyway system. It was right when it opened up. And it was a contest where like all the schools in Duval County would submit, and it was like a little art contest, and I got third place. They gave me a $100, bond, I guess.
Yeah.
For getting third place. I'm like, man, $100 back then must have been a lot, because $100 ain't getting nothing done these days.
No, not at all. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask my mom, where's that money at, Mom?
For a third
Where's
grader,
that money at, Mom? I don't see it.
Third grader, $100 take you a lot of places. Like that's a lot of trips. Little Champ, that's a lot of trips. Little Champ's a little grocery gas station that we used to have. It's not here anymore. But yeah, $100 doesn't go anywhere today. I mean, you walk out the door and you breathe, you spend $100. Like it's crazy. All right, so we talked about this online, but overrated, underrated, A1A, scenic route.
Yeah, so I'm of the same mind as you when it comes to A1A. It's so overrated, at least as it pertains to Jacksonville and St. Augustine, because that's what it's in our area, right? A1A further south, towards Palm Coast, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty cool. You can actually see whole stretches of not only like bridges that go over little inlets from the intercoastal that feeds out into the ocean, but you can just see stretches of beaches, and it's nature. They have lots of parks. Washington Oaks Parks is out there.
Yeah.
Super awesome, super beautiful, very scenic. A1A, as it pertains to Jacksonville and St. Augustine, very underwhelming. Too many houses crowding up the beach fronts.
Yep.
You
know what?
They're always empty too. Like there's no one. Tell me if you've noticed this or not. Like if driving down A1A between Jacksonville and St. Augustine, all of these homes along the beach always have contractors out in front of them working on them, doing something. And you see like no cars at these places. No one lives there really. They're mainly for like vacation rentals and during the seasons, the peak seasons, you'll see like, hey, this is vacation for rent. You'll see the signs and it says call this number, and it's like all these houses in a row that just are rentals.
Well, I mean, you can make some money. That's why.
I'm sure.
Like I think when I just like looked for shits and giggles, and I think for like a week on like an oceanfront house there was like 10 grand.
Yeah.
So it's like. And now you're getting a couple families together and staying in a house.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I mean,
hey, if you got it like that, good for you.
If you got
reach
it
out
like
to
that.
us, buy investment property. Yeah. You know what I was gonna say in terms of scenic routes, like, and it comes to mind, and you've been a whole bunch of places too, but like Blue Ridge Parkway. Blue Ridge Parkway is a scenic route.
Love it.
That is beautiful when you drive through there, right? That's not what I get. I don't get that feeling for A1A.
Yeah, definitely don't get that same feeling. At least not for the stretch between Jacksonville and St. Augustine.
Yeah. All right, next one. Overrated, underrated, Seven Pines. And Seven Pines is a huge master plan community within Jacksonville.
Yes.
So Justin's got a video coming out here shortly.
Oh gosh, the pressure's on. I've been delaying that video for so long. For good reasons. I wanted it to be perfect for you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that's what it is.
It's a whole can of worms. But overrated, underrated, Seven Pines, definitely underrated. And I know people are going to come at me. For those of you who don't know, Seven Pines, master plan community in Jacksonville, off of JTB, J. Turner Butler Boulevard. It's like a highway system that goes from east to west. Takes you to the beaches, Ponte Vedra Beach, Jack's Beach. I think it's super underrated, and I know people are going to say that, hey, it's not underrated, it's just so overpriced, it's so expensive. I get that, but if you look at it from the aspect that Jacksonville is not really developing all that much more outside, well, at least in a city center sense, right? You have a lot of development on the outskirts of Jacksonville. The north side always has new construction developments, always building. West side, even further west, always building new stuff, right?
Not on south side.
Not south side, not in that area. There's no like centralized new construction community that's a master plan community like the way that community is doing it at Seven Pines. And it's kind of like an untapped reserve, well, it was, now they're tapping into it, but it's going to become the Nocatee of Jacksonville.
Yeah.
It really is, in the sense that, Jacksonville doesn't really have a whole lot of like newer master plan communities that can rival the amenities and the types of feeling and the lifestyle and the types of homes that Nocatee, places like Nocatee, Silverleaf, Shearwater, places in St. Johns County already do.
Yeah.
Outside from maybe E-Town.
Yeah.
E-Town's further south a little bit more. It's not as centralized, and they will connect the two eventually with a road system as they develop that Seven Pines community. So it's definitely underrated in the sense that There's no other master plan community that's like it. That's so similar to Nocatee in Jacksonville. It's like the only one. That one and E-Town are the only two that you could possibly even buy in Jacksonville.
I like that a lot. I was actually going to say it was I was thinking you were going to say it was overrated, but I like how you answered that. That's true. It's so true because like if you look at all of North St. Johns County, we had undeveloped land that we could just pump out master plan community, left and right, whereas Duval County doesn't really have that. So if you want to be close to everything, and E-Town does offer that same kind of feel, right? It's right there. But Seven Pines is even better location, right?
Better location. It's going to be bigger with more homes. It's going to connect to E-Town. It's going to have commercial stuff going on right at the cusp of it. There's just a lot of potential there. And, if you're someone from St. Johns County or if you're looking to buy in, either Duval or St. Johns County, you might think it's overrated in the sense that, well, Seven Pines, it's cool and all, but it's expensive for where it's at because I'm looking for a Nocatee because I want the school systems. I want the already established, community of Nocatee. Well, I can guarantee you it's going to be more expensive at Nocatee versus Seven Pines, if you're comparing apples to apples. But, I think it's slept on, and I'm sure that'll catch along. People will figure out that it's an oil mine down there ready to be tapped.
Yeah.
As long as you got at least 700 grand to.
No big deal.
Just pull it out of my pocket.
Yeah, you got that laying around somewhere. Well, the county's got that laying around somewhere, both Duval and St. John's. We'll get to that though, guys. There's some great stuff. So here's the last one for overrated, underrated. Naval bases in Jacksonville.
Totally underrated. I support the troops because in the viewpoint of Jacksonville, Florida, Duval County, we have Mayport right there. We have NAS Jax. We used to have Cecil Field. It still operates as not necessarily a military presence, but also, another type of aviation areas. I'm not exactly sure what, but NAS Jax and Mayport, huge heavy hitters when it comes to contributing to the local economy in Duval County. You have so much military presence in our city because of those two bases. And what it does, it just brings in so much economic growth from those because the military is a revolving door. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean it in the sense that
they get moved around.
Yeah, they get moved around everywhere. You got people moving here, moving there. So they're always buying and selling real estate. And real estate is such a huge chunk of what drives an economy into a forward, more positive direction. And, it being that the military bases can do that, can have that revolving door of people coming in and out and buying homes, it just further facilitates, the growth of our local economy.
And to tie in with that, that's why Jacksonville actually did a lot better during the great financial crisis in 2008 is because of that large military presence that they have in Duval County, right?
Absolutely.
They have to buy and sell. They have orders, they gotta go there, they gotta go here. They got to make a move. It's not like I want to, right? It's they need to.
Exactly, and that's such a good juxtaposition of someone who's buying and selling real estate as a military employee versus a regular buyer who's like they're rate watching. They might be rate watching like, oh man, it's not a good time to buy. The rates are high. If I sell my house, I'm not gonna, the market's not doing good for me. They might think all these things, whether or not that's true or not. It's, let us figure that out for you.
Yeah, give us a call.
Give me a call. Shameless plug.
Yeah.
But they're not looking at it as far as like, oh, this is a good deal or not. They have to move. They have to sell. They have to buy. Yep. So that's always going to be the case in Jacksonville as long as those two military bases are active, and gotta love them.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're in the military, why not want to live by the beach? Even if you're on the west side, you're not that far from the beach still. And the affordability on the west side comparatively.
Absolutely.
So why not live there versus I don't know where all the military bases are, but I imagine there's a couple where you don't want to go, right?
Well, there's I think Clay County has one, Camp Blanding. It's in like the sticks, so
yeah.
You can commute there. It's not that bad.
It's like
you can still live in Jacksonville.
It's like probably if you're in the military, you're like, I want to live in San Diego or Jacksonville.
I want to live in Okinawa. That's it.
Yeah.
If I don't get Okinawa, I'm leaving.
I'm done.
If it only worked like that.
Yeah, I don't think they let